All right, welcome back to the drawing table. Today we're going to do some inking. If you didn't see this picture, go back to my channel and then check it out. You should have seen it. You probably saw it though. So I didn't feel like inking it then, but I'm going to ink it now. The one thing about inking, if you're nervous, don't do it. I mean, if you come up with a beautiful picture and then you say, "Oh, let me go ink it real quick," and you're in a rush, don't do it. Ink your picture when you're ready, when you're steady, so that it can flow. Yeah, it's ready, steady, go, whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna ink this and give you some advice as I'm inking. One thing that I will say now is make sure you have all of your lines where you want them before inking your piece. I don't have them here, so I'm going to show you the wrong way to do it, such as like the belt. I didn't have the belt coming around. A lot of the shadow pieces are not really where I want them to be or drawn out, but I'm going to ink this and go as I go, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I've got this zoomed in, so I'm gonna, when I turn it, just gonna do a little piece at a time and then move it so you guys can see it. So let's grab some pencils and pens and whatever I need, and let's get this done. Usually when I do the face, I want an 005. I should have had all of this stuff ready and down here. I got 005, but I think this one is kind of like running out on me or running down on me. Pull out your little piece of test paper. So I can see if the ink starts to flow well. If it doesn't, yeah, find another pen. All right, so I'm going to start with the eyes. And my eyes are really never round. I had an art teacher who used to get on me for that. As soon as he see my pictures, he's like, "Oh, those eyes are not round." And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't have to be. But yeah, so here we go. I'm going to start here. And when I do my eyes, I usually make it thick at the top and they thin out at the bottom. Kind of like a cone, curved cone. And then I guess I should get a thing and round this off, but I will just move slowly, even though it won't be round. For some reason, whenever I try to ink something round, it never works out. It's the stress of doing it. But I think once I get past the eyes, once I get past the face, the rest is you know, is a piece of cake. And let me make sure this thing is running, because the last couple of times I started filming, it wasn't running. My camera was not running. And it's only when I looked up at the monitor to see that it was not running. All right, so this is not in the way. I want to make sure you're seeing everything and I'm not pushing it off. So again, I use the 005, which is the smallest point you can get, to my knowledge, unless they made another one. That way I can get good detail. It's the same word it says, keep your pencil sharp when drawing. And right now I am just kind of outlining. And I may get a thicker one to do the black area, just to save some time. And for now, I'm sticking with the anime kind of theme. And I'm going to do some cartoons. Since I'm getting into the anime, I'm gonna go drop down and do like some cartoons for those who may have wanted to do cartoons. You might, and everybody's not into the Marvel. Let me move this over because I keep shifting my paper over this way. For some strange reason, even though I'm sitting over here, I shift my paper over here. All right, now let's try that because I keep throwing it over there. This. And then take your time. Because unless you plan on whiting it out, you got white out, then you don't want to rush and mess something up. And a lot of people have crooked eyes, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And this is a zebra. I will leave, if I can remember it, I will leave the link to where you can pick this up in my, at the bottom. Everything I get, 99.5% of everything that I buy from Amazon. So, makes it easier. I'll leave a link to all of this stuff, everything I use. One thing about inking, it takes a while to do. So at some point, I'm going to speed this up because just this whole silent thing about me you watching me ink in silence may not fit with what you wanted. You know, everybody wants entertainment. But sometimes this one is too big. But sometimes and then I'll add like more line weight to it later. I just want to get the basic. See, that's not anime. I'm going to do this, which was not in the regular drawing. But it'll bring out her eyes a little bit more. And when doing something like this, you just don't want to do this. You just don't want to do that all the way around. You want to actually like break it up, some at the inside, a few at the bottom. You kind of want to stagger it. You don't want everything to be so uniform. Like so. Darken that a little bit, darken that. Put that line is in. So I'm going to put just a little line under there. And a little extra line under there. I know this is supposed to be kind of manga, but now it's turning into almost a realism-ish, small-ish. Tiny nose. Break that line up. Okay, so face is pretty much done. The hair is going to be the hard part because you have to be smooth with hair. You have to kind of follow that line. Your line can't like be broken, and if it's going to be curved, it's got to be curved, not square curved, if you know what I'm saying. So that's going to be like the hardest part for me to do. All right, let's do the tiny mouth. And when you draw, you really don't want to bear down hard because you're leaving a groove in the paper. And when you ink, your pen is usually going to follow that groove. So if you have too many grooves in the same area, your pen will jump out of that groove and go to another spot that you don't want. Okay, now, initially she didn't have these little happy wrinkles in the mouth, but I put them there just to give her a little bit of extra life to her, shall we say. So I'm blacking the lips, but I'm going to leave this white glow right there to give it that wet look. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to feather it. I don't know if I'm going to go up or down or across. I don't know. Yeah, to give it a little shine to it. Hello, mosquito bug on my laptop. They're going to have me destroy everything and drop my pen and mess up my drawing. Okay, so we got that done. Let's do the ear. And she has earrings hanging down, and that's something I forgot to draw. So let's go with a number 1. Try to make it a little thicker. Make sure it's still working. That's going to go on the outside. And as I said, she had an earring that hangs down, so I'm just going to make something up. Maybe a little teardrop. And I can add some kind of shadow or light to that. If you have a big opening, it's best to use a big thick pen, big thick marker, and then you can stop and add your hatching or feathering or whatever it is you want to choose. If you don't want to go all the way down with it. Got him. Got him. Like that, and the same could be for this. Like that. And put my earring. Am I still on? Oh, I'm still using one. All right, now the curve, and this is the hard part. You got to get that face, especially the chin, right, especially for a female. And like that's hair coming down there. It just a little more pressure when you're using a pen. Because when I pick my pen up, it kind of continues to draw just a little bit. Not the line I was hoping for, because I didn't follow, but if I touch it anymore, it's going to make it more darker and give it more of a line weight, which I don't want in the face. But I'm trying to round it off like I wanted it, which is, you know, okay, I'm not going to mess with it anymore. Because as I said, the more I mess with it, the more it's going to mess up. So the hair is here, so I'm going to feather that and darken right here. Now, since this doesn't have a lot of shadow, like brilliant light shadow, then you just do your basic shadow that you know is going to be shadow regardless. Like under the sleeves, under the ruffles, I can't think of what these are, I think it's ruffles, you know, under the arm, the arm across the body, your basic shadow, unless you just don't want that. Because let's just say if I was going to have it colored and I had a great colorist, I would just do basic outlines and then let the colors do the shadow and so forth. But since I don't have that, I'm going to come up with some kind of shadow myself. As I said, always have every line ready. So I'm looking at this chin line, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that's hair. I know this is hair and this is hair. I'm going to make it hair anyway. So I'm going to bring it down. And as I said, hair has to flow, and that's one thing that I'm not really good at is flowing. Not with a pen. I can flow with a pencil because I'm not really thinking about it. But a pen, if I try to do it with a pen, it gets like stiff and just wobbly. So I don't know. I'm gonna see what I can do. Maybe get a bigger, thicker pen. That's a 1, maybe a 3. But see, yeah. Trying to follow the hair and her eyebrows. Let's do the hair, her bangs, I guess you'd call it that. I still want it to look like hair. And forward, it's supposed to. You might see it and say, "Oh, that's Brian. That's pretty good." Not to me. It's just not. It doesn't flow the way I wanted it to flow. So this would have been over top. You see how that kind of like bulged out a little bit instead of going around? This is why I don't do hair. I don't. You can take a beautiful picture and mess it up because your hand's not, my hand anyway. My hand is not there unless I just throw stuff in there like this and just don't really care. Not like it was going to be exactly the same as the red pencil. And let's get that neck. Is there any hair going across her neck? I'm seeing this, so let's do this. And then throw her neck in there. So instead of solid lines, I'm just feathering down here because I don't want the neck to be like so solid strong. And you see what I'm saying? When I stop pulling, it continues to pull. I don't know if my hand drops down or what, but and you just saw that little bobble. This is why I don't really like to ink. And I'm not gonna say I don't ink. I don't really like to ink good pictures or pictures that surprisingly come out well. So I'm going to this little necklace. Do a little something to it. Or is it a choker? And this one is the necklace. So I figure out the hair. Where's the hair going? I know I have it coming here and then going over there, but how much is here going over there? Her shoulder. And then that's going to be the back hair, I'm guessing. Hair should be done with a brush. Because you can flow with a brush. All right, so got that. So this is going to be the back of her hair, or the internal inside of the hair. Piece here, and here. And this piece right here that's going down her back. The best thing for me to do is not really think about it. Just do it and try not to let the pen come up off the line. There's a secret to doing hair. I just haven't figured it out. And the shoulder. The arm. And I'm going to hate myself for doing this. but I wanted to put a little extra in there. Okay, so that could be all shadow, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to come down here, 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 and here, which I screwed up that line. Because hair should go in between, around, and under, stuff like that. So we've got this line, which is out of place. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. And this is when I screw up. And trying to connect lines, that's not a good thing either. So instead of this there, I'm going to move this out there. Collarbone. And the other collarbone. Chest. Here. And if I just did this, if I want to take a solid line and break that solid line up, I'll use this. I have a solid line. But I don't want that solid line to be as thick or deep or cut as much. So then I'll break it up with some lines, or I will do a hatching and like get smaller as I go up. But you don't want the hatch to come too far out. All right, let's finish this hair. The nightmare. This is why I said you should have every line where you need it before you ink. Wow, what did you just do? Okay, it's hair. It goes everywhere. So this is going to be her shoulder. And it shouldn't be like one thick piece like that. That's why it should go like kind of like this, and then you have some more different kind of directions, harder turns, so it won't be just like one piece. Yeah, no, that's a mess, and you didn't even see it on camera. It's all right. It's all right. Okay, come on, keep going. I was bugging you. And I probably think this is probably why I don't do a lot of women. Why are you sliding this paper all the way over? I don't know. You would think I'm on a hill. As I said, this is probably why I don't do women. I love long hair on women. And And I hate drawing long hair on women. That's screwed up. Okay, so we have that. Let's cut that off there. This. And not too shabby. I'm not gonna jump up and down and go celebrate tonight because it was the greatest hair I ever did. No, no, no. But yeah. If I can make that disappear, and I'll bring. I'm not gonna. No. Now what I can do is like add shadow. Let me show you. I'm not gonna use a pen. I could like shadow where parts of it is, and it kind of like layers it. Of course, a lot of this would be shadowed. In here, and that would make some look like it's on top. And on the bottom, are you still pushing this thing off? You know, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, my camera, as I said, I'm zoomed in because I want you guys to see. And you're not going to draw like this, you're going to draw like this. So I need to move that camera again. Let's try that. It's just weird if you're watching a video and the picture's always over here. All right, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. This I shouldn't be doing. I should be leaving this alone. As I say, you can continue to mess with a picture until you mess it up. Did you even see that? My God. Or you could leave it alone and it could be not as good as it could have been. So let's do this. Let's do this. Continue. Let's get off the hair. The hair is good enough for now. And I'm probably the only artist on YouTube who continues to criticize himself. Which I never said I was the greatest. I'm just here to teach. Keep the necklace together, Brian. Keep it together. Keep it on top of one another. Now I have another one that I drew that I'm going to finish inking as well, which I don't think I inked it on the channel. But I'm going to ink it after I finish inking this one. Maybe not tonight, but I'm going to ink it. And that one has more, as I was saying, trying to say, that one, I still want to mess with this hair. I want to do some stuff to this hair, and I know I'm gonna like kind of like hate myself for doing it. I know I will. I forgot what I was just gonna say, where I was at. I was gonna ink it. I'm gonna ink it. Maybe not tonight. Stop it, Brian. Leave that hair alone. Leave it alone. Oh, I had put more detail. It's right here. I put more shadow detail into it, so I know where the shadows go. That's enough. So it's not going to be open like this one. This should be like colored, like I can do marker over the hair and the face and so forth. And that may be something I'll do once I get it out of my head, like it's done, it's going to get thrown away. I don't care about it. Go ahead and put marker on it. Yeah. Continue. I have so many drawings, and I looked at them like last month, and I said to myself, what are you going to do with all that? It's going to get thrown away, basically. You know, you can say, oh, I'll give them to my son or something like that, but when you get stuff and you're excited about it, let's just say I buy a model car, and I put that model car together, and I paint it, and it's just like the greatest thing that I've ever done, and it sits on my shelf, and I look at it, and blah, blah, blah. So when I die, I say, okay, son, everything is that I have is yours. He's not going to look at that model car like, oh, yeah, this is the wonder. This is so great. He's going to probably throw it away or give it to somebody, you know, because he's not into model cars. So some of the things that you buy, you got to think about that. They're just going to do what? Like sit on your shelf or sit in your closet. You know, you get a little use out of it, but it's, you know, it's not going to be like you think. For instance, when I was, one of my early jobs, I'm not going to say first job. First job was like, I think it was in Burger King. Who didn't work at Burger King or fast food? But one of my earlier jobs was working in Target, and I worked in the toy department in Target. So I had a friend, and he would tell me to collect all these toys. He wanted them. He told me this was like a unique toy. This one is, I can't think of the word right now. So I started collecting them myself. Some of them I wouldn't even give to him. Because Target would only have exclusives, like maybe 5 or 6 exclusives, per Target. So I go in and I'm like, hey, because I stocked the shelves. So I was like, oh, this is the Superman or whatever. So I kept it for myself. And I looked on eBay. I have a lot of stuff in my garage. So I looked on eBay and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be worth some money. I could probably sell it. Half of those toys are not even $20, not worth $20 anymore. Because back in the 80s, they just saturated the market with a lot of that stuff. So they're just like everywhere. And here I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be like a collector's item and I can make a lot of money off of this. No. So I'm going to get rid of a lot of the stuff that I have. Because as I say, it's not going to mean anything to my son or, my daughter or whatever. Maybe to a young collector, they might mean something, but they're just sitting in the basement garage right now. Same thing with drawings. I've got so many drawings and I have to get out of the, oh, this is so good, this is so precious, and practice like inking and just, coloring and stuff on those drawings that are not going anywhere. And once I get this out of my head that this is over, it's not going to be hung in a gallery, or nobody's going to break down my door to buy it. I'll just treat it like anything else. Just color it or whatever, do a mustache on it. I won't go that extreme, but yeah. And I think this is why a lot of times I don't do finished drawings. It's close to being finished. Like this, this is good enough for a lesson, and I don't finish it because why? It's done. I'm not gonna frame it or put it on a shelf. You look at a lot of people that they'll show their sketch pads. Oh, this is this and this is this, and you know, you have a ton of sketch pads. Okay, so now what are you gonna do with it? I think age makes you see things differently. And I have a ton of sketch pads. I don't even use them. I have several new ones untouched. I don't even use them anymore. I haven't even used them. I'll draw on this cardstock, very thick, or use regular old copy paper. Cardstock is going to be left in the description too, so you can buy cardstock. If I'm not mistaken, I did get it from Amazon. Like I said, 98% of everything I buy, I get it from Amazon because I'm too lazy to go to the store now. All right, back to 1, I guess. It's 5. What am I going to do with the 1? Right here. That's a little too thin. Going back to the 3. And you can make or break a drawing with your inking. That's why when I first started my comic book, I was very, very weary of, leery of giving it to somebody to ink, because you know, when you do your comic book, you kind of put your all into it. So I went through a lot of trouble trying to find somebody to do, you know, inking, because put it this way, people can ink, but can they ink over your style of drawing? And I remember I gave one to one guy, and he screwed up so bad, he didn't even want to finish it. He just sent it back. I'm like, my goodness. So yeah, it's just, yeah, you have to learn. It's best you learn everything for yourself. 1, to save the money, and 2, to, if you mess it up, it's better than somebody else messing it up. My brand new chair is starting to squeak. And there was a style back in the early 2000s, I think it was early 2000s, where it was right there in my mouth, and I can't remember what it's called. Fusion. There's a fusion style, and it was a lot of adding more squares to stuff. Instead of making stuff round, you kind of make it more square and sharper. And I was going somewhere with that, but I lost it. I think I was going to say something like, I like that style. I need to incorporate that into my drawings, that fusion style. I'm not going to say it went anywhere. It could be still around. I don't know. But it's easier for me to draw more sharper, like I'm doing here with the pleats, than it is to do round. I just screw that up. You get too comfortable, you screw stuff up. All right, so the arm, and then there's a shadow in there somewhere. This is called a, what do they call that? They call that, it is when one line crosses another line. When one line goes right, connects to another line. Tangent. It's called a tangent. And you want to stay away from that because you don't know where one line ends and the other line begins. So this little ruffle is right on her line, on her arm, the line. So I'm going to move that arm out just a little bit. And continue. So this is going to, the arm is going to come out. Well, that looks a little fat. Again, I say always have your lines where you want them. That way there's no guessing. And if you have to add something, use a pen. So I'm just seeing how wide the body would be, because some of the dress would come out this way. So I don't want the hips to make her look a little chubby if I have it out too far. And if I have it in too thin or too not enough, it won't fit the body. So this is something that you would like leave overnight, or as I say, turn it over. It's not really enough for me to actually see if it's wrong or right now. So I'm just going to go for it and just put it like right here. Good enough. So I was going to say I'm almost finished now. No, I'm not. So we have this. Pulling at the breast. And we have the wrinkles here. So after this, then I would have to do find out where the shadows are going to go. I know this wasn't 50 minutes. I know this was not 50 minutes. If it is 50 minutes, I'm going to speed up this last part and speed up some of the parts that I wasn't talking in to cut it down. Even though it's on the channel, I still don't want it to be 50 minutes. But inking does take a minute. It does take a minute. All right, so I'm going to pause it here and look over what I've done and see what I need to do. And put some shadow in. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so I have decided to, let me get more of a brush. I'm going to thicken this hair up, maybe thicken the whole thing up. These are zebras, and I think I said that before, zebra markers. Oh, a little too thick, Brian. And I will leave the description in the section below. That's a little too thick. Now I can use that to do the hair, but I think whatever I do after this, I'm just going to speed it up or just cut it all together so that you guys won't have to deal with 50 minutes of hair inking, or 50 minutes period. Yeah, so I am going to speed it up. If I don't cut it all together, I'm going to speed it up. It's going to be sped up really quick. So here we go. All right, I think this is as far as I'm going to take this. So I turned it to the side so you can see it. Let me point out a couple things that I did do. I was going to say I'm going to pull back. I put a lot of thick, like shadows in the hair. I did line weight basically to show what was in front and what was in back, shall we say. And I put thick, like there's openings. Like hair doesn't all go the same way. Hair will cross and go under and over and so forth. So that's why I added some of the little darker, thicker lines to it to kind of give it a little body, I guess, or depth to it. I did solid shadows on her clothes, but doing on the ruffles, I did solid shadows, and then I faded out. I feathered it out because light would come under some of it, and then it'd go dark in the back. But I didn't do this because that's kind of like all heavy shadow on top of the breasts and on the arms. Yeah, I feathered a lot of the lines. Whenever you want to do a shadow, always do a shape first. Whatever shape you want, do that in solid black. And then you can, if you need to feather it to make it like it's getting lighter, then you can do that. And then if you need to add some, why can I not talk? Because it's late. If you want to feather and then hatch, thank you, the hatching. But you would just do, say like if we did this, and I wanted it to feather itself out to be lighter, I would take a line and I would start making these lines a little further away from each other like that. And that way it'll go from dark to light. And if I wanted to feather it, I would do the same thing. I would start here and bring it down like here and here and here and here until it goes down into it like that. So you don't want to keep doing it like this, because that's kind of like a linen pattern or something like that. So you want to bring it out. And as I said, if you have a shape, if you're doing this shape here, I would say I would shadow like this, and then I would feather, not going across that line, because I can erase this line, because you're feathering in ink if you're inking. And since this is an inking tutorial, I'm sure it's going to be like, so it'll be like that, and then you have that invisible line and you wouldn't see that. And the same way, if I did a hatching, I would keep that, I would start on that line or back, whatever, let's start on that line, and I would stay on that line to give it that kind of hatching effect. So, as I said, let me pull back so you can get the whole thing and you don't have to see it sideways. There you go. And that is it, and that will be it for this particular picture. And as I said, it's probably going to get thrown away. So I don't know. Maybe I'll add some color to it one day when I get back into doing color. So that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Yeah, as I said, I can continue doing this until I mess it up or make it better. Round that mouth out a little bit more. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.